Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV with this frame that I need to fix. So bear with me just a little bit. 1 second because I need to fix that. Okay, that's better. I think it's better. Let me just do this. That's wonderful. As we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning. Um, Thursday morning, July 11th, 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and then, of course, the likes of you out there to make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access. What's this? And this. One. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that indeed, yeah. And I wanted to make sure that this is good. This is good. Yeah, I'm actually waiting for a guest this morning, and just wanted to make sure that everything works here, and hopefully the guest will show up. But other than that, um, we're just full force ahead with what we're doing here, producing, utilizing the concept of public access, reminding ourselves of the privilege and the extent of availability to that which not only helps us but provides us with this wonderful stage called public access LTV here in the shape of these wonderful facilities in Waynescott, New York, and I'm sure that most of you out there are aware of the concept and actually involved in more ways than maybe you yourselves are aware of. So if you know me out there, you know that I cannot help myself but to bring together all the ingredients that speak and operate in the name of that which not only helps us but keeps us company in the process of creation and creativity and goodwill and the essence of engagement and willingness to engage and willingness to become a part of something that maybe sometimes you're not so sure whether you're aware of or whether you believe in. And even when you actually engage and start and touch and connect and unite and whatnot, you're still not sure until suddenly one day you realize that the concept is erupting inside you, and suddenly you hear that that familiar sound that tells you that you're doing just fine and you actually made the right decision. I don't even know what discussion there is behind whether it's the right decision or the wrong decision. And when it comes to public access, this is one of the main, maybe few things that are just a no-brainers, where it tells you the whole story before the story is even begun to be told. And um, I remember that many years ago when I first entered LTV, I was so excited. I was so maybe unjustifiably intimidated. She said, "Me, TV for the people. What does that mean?" Even though where I came from this concept was actually available and it was more kind of undergroundish. But I just want to remind you that 40 years ago, the concept of public access, at least here in the east end of Long Island, was very, very shaky and undergroundish. If it wasn't for Fraser Dougherty, forget about it. I don't think, well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe someone else would have picked it up, but in the way, shape, form, and fashion that Fraser Dougherty went about it is actually what's determining what we see now, what we experience now, and what we have at our disposal as a given. So quickly enough, I realized that there's really no reason to. Let me see. That yeah. Quickly enough, I realized that there's no reason to um, to allow any kind of intimidating factor into the immediate vicinity of that which is so abundantly available. So it took a while, just like when I think of my artistic evolutionary process, if I want to say growth, um, or maybe success in opening up the mystery of that which we haven't accomplished yet. Um, I mean, we all need help in one way, shape, or form. I mean, I know people that made their career and fame just because they were in the right place with the right people and the right remark by the right person, and before you know it, whether it's justified or not, their lives changed just because someone said that what they cook is delicious or what they paint is beautiful. And yeah, well, but it still involves hard work and devotion, and because at the end of the day, you're going to have to create that painting. I had some people that come to me and told me that they don't believe that I'm the painter behind the paintings that I introduce, and I, I, because I refuse to answer questions that are just very annoying. If someone comes to you and tells you, "How long did it take you to paint this painting?" and you feel like saying, "Excuse me, I think I'm busy." And if you don't come up with a better question than that, then we have nothing to talk about. Now, yeah, maybe it's a rude interaction, maybe it's a rude response, maybe, but just as much as people would expect from you as an artist when you show your work to be held accountable, to control your justified anger or whatever you want to call it. When people are in your face and they want answers, and all you want to say, it's like, what exactly do you want from me? Why are we doing this? Maybe we're better off talking about the weather, or the football score, or the season of this or season of that. But for the most part, I have to admit that I was really willing to give myself uh, to the reality that unfolded on the behalf of my willingness, on behalf of my ability and my desire to expose myself and say, okay, here I have 30 paintings. This is the venue that I found, and these are the people that I invited, and these are the people that invited themselves, and here they are, and it's all really great, and I'm learning, I'm happy. Maybe I sell some work, maybe I make new friends, and maybe I also created a few enemies. You never know. People sometimes end up hating your guts. Forget about the fact that maybe they don't know why they're doing it. You surely don't know that it even happened. But I think I became sensitive enough to know what potentially is damaging to me, but not in that sense that I'm going to become less popular, or that people are just going to badmouth me, and that's not a good idea. It's just the thought that some people out there will be walking around with some sensations of resentment, or being displeased for this reason or that reason about me. I don't think I can tolerate that. I don't think I like that. So there were more than once in the past that I would call people and say, by the way, that day that we said that and you said that and I said that, I really didn't mean it. I really didn't think that my reaction to your reaction was, it could have been better, could have been more refined, more considerate and all that. And for the most part, people were like intrigued by the fact that I actually picked up the phone and apologize, especially because they knew that I was picking up the phone and apologizing for something that I shouldn't have apologized, because maybe they're at fault more than, and they know better than anyone that they would be at fault. So giving them the courtesy of by saying, first I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for declaring to me just by the fact that your presence tells me the story, and then I should be thankful, and therefore I thank you. But yes, there were people in the past that came to me because I didn't want to answer a question they asked the way they wanted me to answer. You think it's strange, but these things happen. So then then they got so upset. So they came to me and they said, "Well, I'm not so sure that you're the painter, even, or something like that. I don't know." And and then you find yourself in a completely different territory suddenly. Suddenly, it's not a gallery. Suddenly, it's not an opening. Suddenly, it's not an exhibition. Suddenly, you're not the artist. Suddenly, the people that are there, they're not the people that came to see an art show. Suddenly, this whole commotion doesn't even exist. So you look at that person and you say, "What a wonderful troublemaker. Unbelievable. I thought I'd never live to see a troublemaker live, face to face." So maybe you should go home and reconfigure your strategy, and then we can pick it up again after you improve yourself. And and then I started thinking about, I wish I could summon someone to say, "Hey, you're going to be the one who's going to paint my paintings, and I'm going to be the one that's going to show it to the world, claiming that I did that." That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Give you a few guidelines, and without which you won't be able to do anything. So I would have to be considered the artist anyway, no matter what. But that's not the case, of course. And I wouldn't say you know it. I say I know it, and that's good enough. So in that process of sweating and finding myself exhausted and asking myself more than once I while I was engaging, why am I doing this? It's not like I paint paintings and then I have exhibitions and I'm sold out, and then I go home with $100,000 and say, "Wow, that feels good. I can survive. I can thrive. I can support my family. What a wonderful reality to do something I love so much and so creative, and also earn a living. Wow, I'm on top of the world." So everything that I said is a part of reality, other than the fact that I really don't sell to say that, okay, this is kind of completing the puzzle and everybody's happy, therefore. So I do ask myself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then in the midst of that, I got to be very careful not to take the eye off the ball and not to find myself actually doing exactly the thing that I trained so much half of my life to avoid, and to make sure that I'm not finding myself in these territories that are causing me directly to drain my energy and to waste my time, and to having to find myself doing things that I don't really have to do, that I already did my homework. And so finding yourself doing the same homework over and over and over again, and for the most part, it's not up to no good. So when finally I find myself exposed in the eyes of the public and all this, I'm fairly kind of pleasantly fed up. I don't know what's that. Pleasantly fed up, I should say. Yeah, exhausted maybe somewhat, and secretly I feel like I wish people could notice that and come to me and say, "Breathe, breathe, in and out. We know how you feel, and we appreciate that. We appreciate your sacrifice, And we want you to know that we love what you're doing, and we want you to know that if there's any way that we can ensure the fact that you should continue to do that, please let us know. But of course, this is fiction. This never happens really, except maybe people that are the closest to you that will come to you and tell you things like that. But now and then you get a reassuring feeling in certain acts by people that say, well, like once it didn't happen, a few times in my artistic career, that someone came and say, let me give you this check. The once someone came to me in one of the artists, one of the exhibition that I did was probably a decade ago, and and it's someone that I know kind of, but I don't, but I know that he's a collector, and I know that he appreciates art, and I was happy to see him. And I was kind of hoping, okay, maybe he will buy a painting. That would be nice. But then he hands me a check. I think it was a check for whatever, three, four, $5,000 or something like that. And so I look at the check and I said, why is he giving me this check? And he said, first of all, I want you to put this in your pocket. Uh, and then we'll talk. And I said, what are you doing? He said, well, I I know I'm going to buy art here because it's just wonderful what I see here. So I just wanted to give you a check and just wanted you to put in your put it in your pocket. And that was like an interesting way of telling someone, listen, I really appreciate what's going on here. So I just want to make sure that you know I'm not leaving this gallery unless I'm carrying a painting with me to take home. Anyway, so these are things that don't really happen, and if they happen, once or twice in a lifetime. But this feeling, this feeling of satisfaction, and you say, "My God, this is a very intriguing." The way that people find proper to tell you how they feel about you and how they feel about your creativity and your talent and your goodwill and hard work, and you carry that feeling with you, with pride, like a dose of encouragement that you take with you back to the challenging times that you have as you find yourself in the midst of that creative process, engaging and contemplating and changing and restructuring and doing all the things that you know that you have to do in order to complete the cycle. And that's really what we talk when we speak of life, when we speak of engagement, interaction, when we speak of working for someone, pleasing someone, getting a raise, getting appreciation and an approval. Uh, so that someone comes to you and you say that he or she don't have to tell you what they're telling you. They tell you, we approve of what you're doing, and we want you to know that we are watching you very closely, and we're very happy you're here with us. And by the way, here's a raise, or here's $100, put it in your pocket, take your wife to dinner later, or something. I don't know. I'm just. And then you say, this is not artificial. This is something that is so familiar to you with yourself, that you know, you know what you get, you know what you just have experienced. You recognize the value of the moment. You really do, and you carry it with you as an instant commodity that wasn't there before a minute ago. And I think that's called for, and I think that the public out there should make it his business. Even if you go to a gallery and you don't necessarily have the money to buy anything. Uh, I go to galleries and exhibitions. Sometimes people think, for the reasons that only known to them, that I'm a collector, maybe I'm rich, maybe I have money, and they approach me and they tell me stories and all this. But I never found myself saying, listen, don't waste your time. Like, just to begin with, I want to communicate with you that I'm not a buyer. I don't have the money to buy. I have the opinion to appreciate and to share. I never found myself say that. I never found myself thinking that it's a good idea to say, well, back off because I don't have the money. I enjoyed it and I placed my opinion. And maybe I ended up leaving the gallery when people were absolutely convinced that I am a buyer, and that they paid attention to my remarks because they associated it with the possibility of someone wanting to buy a painting. But still, I ended up speaking my word and my opinion, and they ended up listening to me and appreciating it. Suddenly, they find themselves appreciating it not because I'm a potential buyer, but because it just sounded right. It sounded like, oh, this person, he knows what he's talking about. A lot of times I go to galleries with artists that I know and artists that I don't know. For the most part, that I don't know. That I look at their painting and then if the artist is there, okay. But sometimes, or most of the times, maybe the artist is doing that. There's a representative. There's someone that you want to talk to. I many times I end up telling whoever wants to hear this is an honest attempt. Now you might think that this is actually a positive, encouraging statement to say this. What I see here is an encouraging attempt, and then people would say, "What exactly do you mean?" And then I say this: they have accomplished halfway. They reached halfway successfully, completely. Now, all they have to do once this exhibition is over is take this full body of work and add the second half to it and complete the job. So it's okay. I can forgive artists that want to show me half a job, especially if this half job is meticulously completed and satisfyingly concluded. But as far as phase one is concerned, yeah, that's okay. I've seen artists that show the work and they say uncompleted work, or yet to be completed. I saw that more than once. I really did. Especially if they're great artists, and who's going to argue with them? They thought that this is okay, and you have to accept it at face value. But this is life. Life depends on these interactions. Life depends on great artists that make decisions, and not for us to judge whether of the nature of their decisions. Well, we can do whatever we want, but we know better. We should know better than when you deal with certain artists that are really powerful, really powerful. I mean, it's like they leave no doubt, no question marks. Who are they? What are they? How do I feel? Anything they do makes you feel happy and strong, and feel that sense of the promise of the future. There happen to be too many reasons because the future is gloomy and uncertain and unyielding and maybe puzzling. Um, but still, the aspect of that ability that was manifested through what you see, whether it's completed or not, is undeniably, whatever. However, I don't even know how to say it. Gorgeous and enough for you to deal with and to digest and to make sense of it and to have a concluded sense of relation to your experience. So when I go and I say, and there was one artist that I saw, and his work was honest. His work was honest because because uh, because I because I couldn't argue with what my eyes saw. Hard work, large scale, oil paintings, multiple layers, constant, significant, honest attempt to achieve his goal, to achieve to reach the destination. But unfortunately, nothing was completed. Nothing was completed. In my eyes, as a spectator, it wasn't completed. It was like, okay, I wonder if the artist knows that what I'm experiencing now is just a wonderful completion of a successful completion of phase one. I wonder if the artist knows about it and just hope that nobody will come and discuss this issue with him because he's going to eventually take it back to the studio and reintroduce it later on after he will apply phase two. And there will be no doubt, not to him or to me or anyone, that he will not prevail. But he did what he did because he's the artist and because he's powerful and because his paintings are powerful. So therefore, he can put on display paintings that are not completed. Okay. But what triggered me still, nevertheless, to approach him and speak my mind or my opinion, of course, after I asked for a permission, was that I overheard him so zealously and consistently offering his interpretation of his own paintings. He was so willing. He was so willing that actually it bothered me. It bothered me because it messes up with the integrity of reality of life, the quality of life, the meaning of life, the value of life is being disturbed by this kind of behavior. Well, I mean, you would think I don't know what, you would think I'm exaggerating and all this, but this is how I felt. And me as an artist, even though I'm a spectator there, I'm not the artist who's showing the work. I have to relate to my feelings, and I have to give my own. And again, the beauty of it is that I can go through a million things and million thoughts. Nobody would even know 1% of it or anything. Nobody would even know that anything is taking place in this magnitude or in this fashion. So so I need to approach him. So anyway, I approached him. Then I said, I love your show. I love these paintings. And do you mind if I share something with you? And he said, yes. So I told him, this is a wonderful, wonderful background for the eventual result that's still yet to be configured and reached and realized. So he immediately said, "That's interesting. Nobody ever talked to me like that. Nobody ever told me this, something like this." So I wasn't sure whether he's actually just telling me, "Okay, I'm willing to listen." I think, oh, wow, so what exactly do you mean? Out of a genuine desire to maybe know and understand something that he already knows and already understands, or maybe the opposite, like who the heck is this guy? Where is he coming from? Can please God make sure that he's just evaporating and disappearing now? I don't want to talk to him. This is like, this is BS. Whatever. Wasn't sure, didn't ask, but then I said, you know, you you are very willing to talk about your paintings. I noticed because I couldn't help myself, wherever I went in the gallery, I heard you interacting with people and offering your interpretation of the painting. And what I was, and this is me talking to him. What I was intrigued by is that you actually were describing to them that which is not yet achieved within the paintings themselves. Meaning that you're describing the end result that has not been reached yet and accomplished yet. And this is a proof to me that how I feel is accurate. That means you proving to me by your behavior that my feelings and reservations are correct. And then he was really, his eyes were wide open, and he was like willing to listen while he was challenged and intimidated a little bit. I noticed that, and I said, so this needs to go back to the studio, and you're going to have to put your stamp of that definition to tell the stories and justify the titles that you gave to each piece, to each painting of yours. And I have a feeling that you are aware of it, and this is something you're going to be doing. So anyway, to tell you that I did that in order to teach him a lesson or make him aware, that would be not true. To tell you that I did that for my own sake because I needed, I had no choice, and I couldn't help that feeling of that I had, and the act that I took, that I actually volunteered my opinion, and maybe volunteered my advice. I don't know. And I'm an artist. I know how I feel sometimes when people give me advice. I mean, I always accept it. I don't reveal my feelings, and I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I listen. I'm a great listener. So that I thought I realized along the years that that is enough when you can act the part convincingly enough that people wouldn't know whether you're really really happy or really really annoyed, whether you like them to continue and complete their remarks, or whether you would like them to stop and disappear and leave them alone or leave you alone. So I thought that he realized that I did him a great service, but he couldn't find it within him to say really how he felt about it. Like, you know what, you're right. And that makes me realize that you know a thing or two about these things because you said you're an artist. So I can't wait to see your paintings. I would say that. I mean, someone comes and gives me an opinion or a remark or a thought or reservation that happen to be powerful and deep and comes from a source that requires experience and hands-on engagement, recollections and consideration and all those qualities. So I would say, I would say something, hoping that maybe he'd take out his phone and show me something. Um, I think I showed him an image or two just to kind of show off a little bit, whatever, because we can't help it. We artists, knowingly or unknowingly, directly or indirectly, always have this hidden desire to show off a little bit, which is okay. We work so hard in the studio. I mean, we're allowed to kind of cheat here and there, or do something that's opposite to that selfless routine of ours that is genuine. And sometimes we would like to be um, the opposite of that. We'd like to root for ourselves, and that's okay. But saying all that is, it's like me telling you a story about life, about facing the villain, the source of the evil that cannot separate itself from the implications of art. And like when you find yourself in the company of greatness, when you find yourself in the company of greatness, but not going to a museum and seeing a wonderful painting by a great artist. That we're going to someone's party, someone's home, and if you're lucky enough, you see the artists that made that painting there with the art, or you see the person who thought it's a good idea and a great investment also because he loves it to pay $1 million and have that painting. So you I don't know if you ever experienced being standing in front of a painting in some kind of a party, that that you can purchase 3 houses with this painting or something like that's ridiculous. um, like a $5 million painting. Okay, I mean It's not really the money, but it's the fact that you know when you're in the presence of greatness, and this feeling will not repeat itself very often, if at all. It won't. It will just not. It will not position itself in the proximity of something that is common or happens occasionally or often, or it doesn't. It just doesn't. So we need to quickly learn the lessons and kind of take home whatever portion of that information that was presented to us, and feel the urgency. Run, 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 run. Make a good time. Go there, and then when you enter that immediate zone of your own creativity, intimate and whatnot, and personal, explode, open, release, release the multiple dimensions that are so well positioned within you, and activate your free spirit that allows you to experiment and to do it again and again and again, and not because you have any special reason to redo it and redo it. It's because you're the artist, you can do whatever you want, and you ending up doing things that you don't really ask questions later on or while you're doing it. Why did you do it when you didn't have to do it? Why did you do it this way when you didn't have to do it this way? Why did you have to make it so much longer when you were so close to fruition and to a conclusion, whatever? Why? The answer is because you're the artist. This is your painting. This is your studio. This is your moment. Of course, you're going to make a decision that appeals to you for the reasons that maybe eventually will only be known to you. But who's going to benefit? First and foremost, society will benefit because it will form a channel of communication that is second to none when it comes to adding another layer of stability, layer of uh, that kind of necessary tightness that it is in place now. I know that I'm going to go and come back, and I won't have to deal with structural issues. The structure will be still in place exactly the way I left it before I left, or while I left. Yeah. And you want to tell yourself the story the way you want to tell yourself the story, because after all, it's your story, or maybe the story about you. I don't know what the difference is, but I'm sure there's a difference. And the beauty is that you don't lose track, because you're going to find yourself in that immediate vicinity of this unique shrine of yours, that where you are going to find yourself speaking your words, and um, you know and setting your foot steadily and rigidly, and uh, with eloquence and balance and goodwill and full intent and no hesitation. And boy, oh boy, did I did my homework. Show the world. It's okay. Show the world that kind of level of excellence, and there's no way the world will not show you back its appreciation. Or maybe it will show you an appreciation while they're explaining to you that they just don't have it within themselves, themselves to be as accurate as they need to be in order to tell you how they feel. But they want to tell you, good job, way to go, much appreciated, we love you, we respect that, we respect that. Like a legend that came to me once and said, I know that you're a good artist because there's some paintings here that when I look at them, I can't help myself by telling myself, I don't think I can do that. And you're talking about legends. You're talking about legends that actually accomplished everything they wanted, needed, felt like they can and should, and they actually did in their entire lives. They come and tell you, don't worry too much. I remember Norman Mercer once came to me. Norman Mercer, a wonderful artist. Yeah, I think it was 2006, 2007. I did one of my large scale exhibitions, 30,000 square foot here in Wainscott at the East Hampton Studios. And he came to the show, never met him. And he came to me because, and he's, I mean, listen to this. This is a great story. I mean, you're talking about the greats. Norman Mercer was a part of the greats. He fought the Second World War. He was a pilot. Who's that? Okay, some people are playing music. That's okay. That's good. Speaking of, Norman Mercer fought in the Second World War, flew airplanes, and let me just check something. 1 second. Okay, here we go. That's fine by me. Um, Participated in the Second World War as a fighter pilot, uh, inventing that plexiglass, bulletproof plexiglass for airplanes and all this. And after the war, decided to stay in Japan to try and understand the nature of this gentle people that ended up being so vicious, so vicious, so much so that we had to use the nuclear bomb in order to put an end to the war. So he decided to stay there. Stay there for a decade to learn more about the nature of the people that he already was familiar with. That's why he was puzzled. How come these gentle people with a rich, wonderful, colorful, artistic culture uh, almost destroyed the world? So he took his invention. I mean, work with plexiglass and started creating sculptures with color, with this, with that. Well, just wonderful things. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Came to East Hampton in the 60s, I think, and yes, and then built this house on Ocean Avenue in East Hampton, and picked up one of the greatest architects. I forgot his name, but wonderful, world renowned, and built his house and his studio and whatnot, and was living a happy life for at least 5 decades. Yeah, creating, just sitting on top of the world, happily married with family, wonderful, everything. And being completely, absolutely selfless when it comes to sharing his feelings with people, with artists at least. Came to my show. I didn't know him from Jesus. And he approached me. He says, "Don't worry." I look at this person. I said, "Who's this? What's going on?" He said, "Don't worry. You're doing just fine." And there's some pieces here that blow my mind. I don't know who the guy is. I just know that I'm just taken by the moment and like glued to him. Like there was something about his voice, something about his selfless approach, completely clean and clear cut in the face of how should I describe it? He wants you to hear what he has to say because he thinks it's important for you to hear what he has to say, not because he's famous and powerful. It's because he knows deep, deep, deep within him that this will serve you. This will serve you right. It will save you a lot of hassle and pain in the future. Don't don't worry. Do not worry. So now I said, well, did he notice that I'm worried about something or tense about things? Yeah, yes, yes. We became friends later, and I was asking him, what is this? This is common practice for you to just approach an artist in the middle of an exhibition and just tell them how much you love them and rave about them and speak like you did to me. Is it because you noticed something? He said, yes. I noticed that you were pretty stressed out when you're not supposed to be, because I looked at the art. I said, how come this guy is not dancing with happiness here? How come he's not portraying his sense of exuberance and happy and describing exactly with body motion, with rhythm, his happiness, his sense of satisfaction from the level of accomplishment that I witness here? I said, what the heck? Look at this guy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you would know how much I benefited just from this short interaction, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe the extent of that short interaction. Then I Googled him and I found out who he is. And I said, my God, look, this guy came to me and told me that. He didn't have to do it. He didn't have to do it. He didn't have to do it. He didn't have to take the time to come and approach me and be very meticulous about how he feels about my art and my work. Why? And that's why I feel the way I feel now towards artists, that I come and say, there's something so special here. I wonder if you noticed that. Speaking to the artist that created this work. Now, you can say something like that to an artist, and the artist say, get the hell out of my face. What are you trying to preach me? What's going on? You're taking chances, but you want to be able to, and I do sometimes, and I try as hard as I can, more than sometimes, to just say, there's something so great here that I witnessed. I mean, I wonder if you're aware of that. Telling the artist that, making that remark to an artist. Why? Because you experienced that from another person, saying, but this. I wonder if you know enough about what I am observing now, that happens to be the result of your work, your artistic attempt, that you can do without. That you can do without that which stands in your way, to celebrate and to open up, for real opening up. You know what? That's his way of saying, you know what? You toiled and slaved and worked hard enough in the studio, in your sacred moments, in the moments of silence, in the moments of melancholia and moodiness and ups and downs and whatnot. Where is the sense of desire to celebrate when you have all the reasons in the world to celebrate? Is one reason, is two reasons, four reasons, 15 reasons, 57, 141 reasons. Each one of them is solid reason for you to be happy, exuberant, dancing, celebrating. It didn't take more than that. Besides the fact that we became friends, and I invited him to, and I interviewed him here with the Hello Hello show at LTV, and he was generous enough to contribute some sculptures for some group art shows that we have here, as we have in the group art shows here for the last 27 years. Never for a second that he wasn't the person that he was when I first met him, when he first approached me. Never, never that he was anything less of that top-notch, great uh, psyche, personality, energy individual that I met. Always was that much, if not even more. So I don't need to ask, well, I mean, how is it possible that one maintains within one's personality that level constant of, we're talking about quality, human quality, we're talking about uh, we're talking about that quality that is that shows that comes across as a commodity, as a human commodity that is undeniably vivid and clear as far as what it's all about, even to those who know nothing about art or nothing about that, the engagement, what it really means. It's not about in order to create good art, what it means, in order to create, period, what it means. I learned early on, and probably he noticed that. That's why he approached me, was so generous with his wonderful words and suggestions and opinion and reservations, is that I don't need to really bother myself as far as how am I going to paint good paintings, beautiful paintings, satisfying paintings, but rather how am I going to paint paintings? Let's, because if you like, okay, now I think, because if you're like me and you come from a territory where you have a long story to tell, but you don't have the capacity to understand beginning, middle, and end. And you don't necessarily have the time to go and study and someone to tell you, well, this is how you do it. And in a perfect world, that's how it's ought to happen. This is how you do it. This is the composition. This is the layout. This is the process. This is the ABC, the 1, 2, 3. And then if you follow it, you're good, good. And it seems like you're talented enough. So I don't see any problems here. I see you prevailing in that. Just give yourself the signal and go and follow yourself. It's just not that no other participants other than yourself required. It's you here. So I always thought, okay, I never bothered to think, oh, what is the subject matter under discussion here? What is it? I need to know it. Hey guys, there's no one in the room. I'm just saying, hey guys, uh, what is it? What is it? Give it to me. I need to give it to myself. What's the title? What's the title? What's the title? What's the guideline? I did that early on, and it was. I said to myself, there was. Wait, let's see. What's that? Let me see. Okay, yeah. Uh, what the heck? So much. See what I mean? People don't even bother to know whether I'm here or not. So they. Anyway, this is it. So I said, this is so torturous. I don't want to go through it again. I don't want to have this condition hovering over my head and telling me, if you don't know where you're going nowhere. What an awful feeling. And it felt like no matter what kind of an engagement, if it's artistic by nature, it will always happen like that. I will always hear this voice. I will always never be able to jump over it and across it and bypass it unless I show the credentials. So I need to show something uh, for the sake of being allowed to continue, so to speak. It's ridiculous. Too much pain unnecessarily. So I told and worked really hard to say, wait a second, I'm not coming vis-a-vis a subject matter requirement. I'm coming vis-a-vis capability that's defined by an existing technique in place. Period. Let technique speak the language, that language that is required and necessary for this structure to be formed as quickly as possible, and then you are within your territory, your property. You own this property. You can do as you please. So when I did that, eventually, and found myself, and found myself. Let's see what's going on here. What's hello? What is this? I don't know what. Almost, yeah. So then I found myself uh, entering convincingly through my technical ability to perform. Right there resides endless amount of subject matters that will serve me for a lifetime. Now it sounds dramatic. It sounds like maybe not so viable or reliable, but this is something that works if you have enough courage to understand that it doesn't matter how you enter that vicinity, that space that is spells nothing but creativity and whatnot, and therefore, if it works, it works. And even if you cannot understand or explain it so meticulously as you usually are explaining, and with a certain this is one aspect of it that you cannot be so eloquent in explaining, but it works. So you save yourself the hassle of trying to be so clear about what it is, or what is it that you're so eloquently and so efficiently managing to put together and to put in place. You're just doing it. And you keep on doing it the same way you keep on doing it because it works. Like Dr. John Sarno, that came up with this TMS, tension myasthenic syndrome, that helped hundreds of thousands of people around the world to get rid of their pains and aches and back pain and whatnot, and a million things. And he was asked, well, tell us about the nature of it, as they say. And he said, no nature. I just know it works. I just know that if you're going to follow my suggestions in this list, as I mentioned it, as I described it, you will prevail. The question is, are you going to do it or not? Anyway, so that I thought when I met Dr. John Sarno, he kept on telling me things like, "Let me tell you a secret," and every time he said, "Let me tell you a secret," he kept on telling me things that he told me before. And at first, I thought, "Who is this person? What's going on?" But quickly enough, I realized that I need to remind myself I'm in the company of greatness, and then I need to pay attention, not to doubt, not to ask a question where I find myself doubting someone that happens to be great. And then I know for a fact he's great. Otherwise, he wouldn't write these wonderful, incredible, out of this world books and whatnot. So I immediately, immediately accepted upon myself, because I had some experience of implementing that in my artistic journey. And luckily, I had more than one artistic medium of engagement at my disposal, so I could cross implement and I can play around. Great thing to have. So until today, I indulge in my technical ability to use it as a right of way, as a lifetime um, pass to be able to enter whatever uh, um, outfit uh, that I see fit, that I need to feel like I need to be a part of it, to engage with it, and it works every time, and it brings the result that makes me happy, and therefore I keep on doing it exactly the same. I stopped long ago to try and impress myself, because this whole engagement always speaks the language and tells you and informs you on daily basis where you stand, what you're doing, how much you achieved, how much there is now that wasn't there in the morning, and all this. But you know that the number one aspect of it all is to show up and to enter the studio and to make sure you have everything you need. I mean, it sounds pathetic almost. Yeah. Paint, brushes, canvases, pads, iPads, whatever, pens, pencils, paper. Um, if you're a drummer, if you're a pianist, you need to have your musical instrument. You need to have it, and you need to be hearing yourself playing that. It's not to be hearing yourself play greatness, it's to be hearing yourself play music, period. Things like that. So you can play something short like this, even though I'm not a pianist, but this can spell, wait a second, I need a week to decipher. And this deciphering process is so viable. And you're finding it out immediately, quickly, if you choose to want to look for that understanding and clarity. So therefore, I wish you that kind of level of clarity that is self-imposed. And I want to thank you also for participation, even though you didn't weren't show that you're participating in whatever it is that's taking place here in the last hour. And I'm going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as I'm here this morning on Thursday morning, July 11th, year 2024. And my birthday is 2 days ahead. And I'm very psyched. And I want to thank you for being who you are. And I want to urge you to be tolerant and patient and let people enjoy and vacation here. And you, if you live here year round, take it easy. There are ups and downs, and the seasons come, seasons go, and it's all good and it's all wonderful. Remind yourself where you live, even with incredible amount of traffic. It's still beautiful and great, and no reason to upset yourself, because it's very difficult to get rid of these feelings once they take over. But I want to send you my best regards, and here from LTV, telling you that we love you and we acknowledge your contribution and we thank you for that.